Recalling that Duke Quan of Qi had once relied on the strength of Zhu to restore his state, and that Qi thus owed Zhu a debt of gratitude, he believed he could use Zhu as a means to reconcile himself with Qi. Moreover, Wen Jiang had long-standing ties with the Ji medical lineage, and Ai Jiang, Wen Zhang's niece, shared this connection, providing a suitable pretext for entrusting matters to them. Accordingly, he disguised himself in plain clothes as a merchant, loaded a cart full of goods and bribes, and fled to the state of Zhu. When it was heard that Qingfu had fled to Zhu, Ai Jiang also felt that her own position was no longer secure and likewise wished to go to Zhu to take refuge. Those around her said, "Because of Qingfu, my lady has incurred the resentment of the people of the state. If you now gather again in another state, who would be willing to accept you? Jiao is in Zhu and enjoys the support of the people. It would be better for my lady to go to Zhu and beg Jiao for protection." Thus she fled to the state of Zhu and sought an audience with Jiao, but Jiao refused to see her. When Jiao learned that both Qingfu and Ai Jiang had left, he then escorted Prince Shen back to Lu, and at the same time sent envoys to Qi to report the crisis. Duke Quan of Qi said to Zhongsu and Qiu, "Now the state of Lu has no ruler, what do you think of taking it?" Zhongsu and Qiu replied, "Lu is a bulwark of ritual propriety. Although it has suffered regicide and turmoil, this is but a temporary upheaval. The people have not forgotten the Duke of Zhou. It cannot be taken. Moreover, Prince Shen is clear-minded and experienced in state affairs, and Jiao has the talent to suppress disorder. They will surely be able to pacify the populace. It would be better to take advantage of this situation and protect Lu instead." Duke Quan said, "Agreed." He then ordered the senior minister Gao Pu to lead 3,000 armored soldiers from Nanyang, instructing Gao Pu to act according to circumstances. If Prince Shen truly proves fit to preside over the altars of state, then support him as ruler and cultivate good relations as neighbors. If not, you may annex his territory. Gao Pu accepted the command and set out. When he arrived in Lu, Prince Shen and Jiao had also just arrived. Seeing that Prince Shen had a dignified bearing and spoke with clarity and order, Gao Pu greatly respected him. He therefore made plans with Jiao to enthrone Prince Shen as ruler, who became Duke Shi of Lu, and sent the armored troops to assist the people of Lu in building the city of Lumen. As a defense against disturbances from Zhu and Zhu, Jiao sent Prince Shixi to accompany Gao in returning to Qi to thank Duke Quan of Qi for his achievement in restoring order to the state. At the same time, he dispatched envoys to Zhu, seeking to use the hands of the people of Zhu to execute Qingfu, tempting them with lavish bribes. When Qingfu fled to Zhu, he carried with him treasured vessels of the state of Lu and, through the Zhu physician, presented them to the ruler of Zhu, who accepted them. Now, tempted again by the rich bribes from Lu, the ruler of Zhu sent someone to say to Qingfu, "The state of Zhu is small and narrow, we fear that harboring you may become a pretext for war. Please, my lord, go instead to another state." Qingfu still did not depart, whereupon the ruler of Zhu issued an order to expel him. Qingfu recalled that Xu Diao had once accepted bribes and been on friendly terms with him, and so he went from Zhu to Qi. The border officials of Qi, long aware of Qingfu's villainy, dared not admit him without authorization, and thus Qingfu took up temporary residence by the banks of the Wen River. Just then, Prince Shixi, having finished thanking the state of Qi, was on his way back to Lu when he reached the Wen River and encountered Qingfu. He wished to take him back to Lu. Qingfu said, "Jiao will surely not tolerate me. If Ziyu can speak on my behalf, I beg that, in remembrance of the lineage of our former lord, my life may be spared. I am willing to live on as a commoner, and even in death I shall not be forgotten." When Shixi returned to Lu and reported his mission, he conveyed Qingfu's words. Duke Shi of Lu was inclined to grant the request. Jiao said, "If one who has murdered his ruler is not executed, how can later generations be warned?" He then privately told Shixi to relay this message: if Qingfu takes his own life, he may still be granted an heir, so that his ancestral sacrifices will not be cut off. Shixi accepted the order and went again to the banks of the Wen River, intending to inform Qingfu. Unable to bring himself to speak, he instead wailed and wept loudly outside the gate. When Qingfu heard the sound and recognized it as Shixi, he sighed and said, "Ziyu does not come in to see me and cries so bitterly, there is no escape for me. He then untied his belt and hanged himself from a tree, dying there. Shixi then went inside, prepared the body, and returned to report to Duke Shi of Lu. Duke Shi of Lu sighed repeatedly in sorrow. Suddenly a report arrived. The ruler of Zhou has sent his younger brother Ing Na to the border with troops. Hearing that Qingfu is already dead, he now demands recompense and bribes. Jiao said, the people of Zhou never captured and delivered Qingfu, how can they claim merit? He then volunteered to lead the army himself to meet the enemy. Duke Shi of Lu untied the treasured sword he wore and presented it to him, saying, this blade is called Meng Laoxing. Though less than a foot in length, it is incomparably sharp. Uncle, cherish it. Jiao hung it at his waist and hips, thanked the duke for the favor, and went forth. When they reached the region of Li, Prince Ing Na of Zhou drew up his troops in formation to await them. Jiao thought to himself, Lu has only just established a new ruler and affairs of state are not yet settled. If we fight and fail, the people's hearts will waver. Ing Na is greedy and lacks strategy, I should take him by cunning. He then rode out before the ranks and requested a face-to-face talk with Ing Na. He said to him, you and I are personally at odds, what fault do the soldiers have? I have heard that the prince is strong and skilled in combat. I propose that we each lay aside our weapons and, barehanded, wager our lives to decide who is superior. What do you say? Ing Na replied, excellent. Both sides agreed to withdraw their troops, and the two faced each other on the battlefield. They exchanged blows 10 or so times back and forth, neither showing any flaw. They had agreed to fight for more than 5 rounds. Jiao's son Qingfu, then 8 years old, whom Jiao dearly loved, had come along to the army and was watching the bout from the side. Seeing that his father could not gain the upper hand, Qingfu repeatedly shouted, where is Meng Lao? Jiao suddenly understood. He deliberately exposed an opening, allowing Ing Na to press forward a step. Jiao then turned slightly, drew the Meng Lao blade from his waist, and swung it backhanded in a single stroke, slicing from brow through forehead and cutting away half of the crown of the skull. The blade bore no trace of blood, it was truly a treasured sword. When the troops of Zhou saw their commander struck down, they fled for their lives without awaiting engagement. Jiao won a complete victory and returned to court in triumph. Duke Shi of Lu personally went out to the outskirts to welcome Jiao, appointed him chief minister, and granted him the fief of Fei as his uppunnage. Jiao memorialized, saying, your servant, together with Qingfu and Shuya, are all grandsons of Duke Huan of Lu. For the sake of the altars of state, I executed Shuya and forced Qingfu to hang himself, placing great righteousness above kinship, something truly done only out of necessity. Now both of them have died without heirs, while I alone undeservedly receive high rank and a great fief. How could I face Duke Huan of Lu in the netherworld? Duke Shi of Lu replied, the two committed rebellion, would it not be improper to infect them? Jiao said, the two had rebellious intent, but no overt rebellious acts, and their deaths were not by the sword or the saw. It would be fitting to establish both of them, to make clear the principle of honoring one's kin. Duke Shi of Lu agreed and followed his proposal. Gongsun Ao was made the successor of Qingfu, becoming the Mengsun clan. Qingfu's courtesy name was Zhong, and later generations used the courtesy name as the clan name. Today it is called Zhongsuan, but to avoid recalling Qingfu's villainy, it was changed to Meng. The Mengsun clan held their fief at Qing. Gongsun Zi succeeded Shuya, forming the Shusun clan, with a fief at Shi. Jiao held his fief at Fei and was further granted lands at Wenyang, forming the Jisuan clan. Thus, the three houses, Jisuan, Mengsun, and Shusun, stood like tripods, jointly holding the governance of Lu, and were known as the Three Huan. On that day, the south gate of Lu collapsed for no apparent reason. Those who understood the omens said that it had grown high and suddenly fallen, foretelling that in the future there would surely be calamity and upheaval. The portent had already appeared. Duke Huan of Qi knew that the Jiang family was in Zhou, and said to Guanzhong, the two lords of Lu, Huan and Min, did not reach a proper end, all because of our Jiang family. If we do not take action, the people of Lu will surely see it as a warning, and the marriage alliance will be broken. Guanzhong replied, once a woman is married, she follows her husband. If she offends her husband's family, it is not for her natal family to punish. If your majesty wishes to act, it is better to keep the matter discreet. Duke Huan said, very well. He then sent Xu Diao to Zhu to escort Lady Jiang back to Lu. When Lady Jiang reached Yi, she stayed at an inn. Xu Diao told her, my lady, everyone in Qi and Lu knows that you were involved in the deaths of 2 lords. If you return, how can you face the ancestral temple? It would be better to take your own life, even so, you may still preserve some dignity. Upon hearing this, Lady Jiang closed her door and wept, remaining silent until midnight. Xu Diao opened the door and saw that she had hanged herself. He reported to the magistrate of Yi, who handled the funeral arrangements and quickly informed Duke Shi of Lu. Duke Shi personally received her body and returned it to Lu, burying her with full rites, saying, the bond between mother and son must not be severed. She was posthumously given the title Ai, mournful, hence she is called Ai Jiang. In the 8th year, Duke Shi of Lu, noting that Duke Shuang had no consort, still enshrined Ai Jiang in the ancestral temple. This was an act of excessive favor. Qingfu and Ai Jiang both belonged to a special social stratum in the state of Lu. Although they committed misdeeds and might have escaped formal judicial punishment, in a society with strong cultural norms and shared values, their actions would provoke both heaven's wrath and the people's indignation. Such behavior could not be tolerated by Lu society.